Right.
All these cats out here, David Ruffin this, David Ruffin that, David Ruffin this, and they name and they songs out their mouth, out their buttholes, everywhere.
Yeah, I see exactly.
It's annoying because they're not putting any respect on it.
Got you.
They're not glorifying that he was a great dude. They're glorifying that he was a fucking idiot in a movie.
But this is Detroit's most recent memory of David Ruffin, in court, facing cocaine charges, defended as a broken drug addict so out of control that court orders, friends, not even the threat of jail could keep him in a drug treatment program.
Thank you very much. This is really wonderful. You know, looking back through the years, when I first heard the Temptations sing, I knew right then and there that was a sound that really reminded me of something that we saw a little bit earlier. They showed a picture of Mr. Harris and JJ and them Soul Stirrers. And I remember Sam was about 18 or 19. We used to open up the show for the Soul Stirrers. And I still have that picture sitting on his knee right today. And when I heard the Temptations sing, it reminded me of the spiritual background that I came from. And I really hope that somewhere in your heart that we have put a little love and our thought remains from the endurance that we have been through the years, but this makes up for a lot of it. I'd like to say to all of you, thank you and God bless you.
This vocalist might be the best lead vocalist in any group of his day, ahead of Paul McCartney, Robert Plant, and Mick Jagger. This vocalist went lower, higher, darker, and brighter than any of them. This musician is one of the most well-known faces and one of the greatest lead singers in Motown history. This singer was an important part of the Temptations' artistic identity. The centerpiece of today's video is all about David Ruffin. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. Born David Lee Ruffin on January 18, 1941, in the small unincorporated village of Wyandotte, Mississippi, 15 miles southeast of Meridian. He was the third son of Baptist minister Elias Eli Ruffin and Ophelia Ruffin, whose siblings included Quincy B. Ruffin, Rita Mae Ruffin, and Jimmy Lee Ruffin. Ruffin had another sister, Rosine, who passed in infancy. Ruffin's parents were both Mississippi natives. His father, Eli, worked as a truck driver at several timber mills, and his mother, Ophelia, worked out of their home. Eli's parents had relocated from Alabama to Mississippi due to the terrible conditions of life following the American Civil War. David Ruffin's great-grandparents, John and Clara Ruffin, moved from Bertie County, North Carolina before settling in Alabama. John Ruffin was a Civil War veteran who fought with the 14th United States Cutter Heavy Artillery Regiment. In addition to being very strict, Ruffin's father was also brutally abusive at times. Ruffin's mother passed of problems during childbirth 10 months after his birth in 1941, and his father later married Earline, a schoolteacher, in 1942. Ruffin and his siblings traveled as a family gospel group with their father and stepmother as children, opening for Mahalia Jackson and the Five Blind Boys of Mississippi. Among other acts, Ruffin performed in the choir at Mount Salem Methodist Church, talent shows, and anywhere else he could. Ruffin left home in 1955 at the age of 14 under the custody of a clergyman, Eddie Bush, and moved to Memphis, Tennessee to pursue a career in ministry. Under the guidance of the jazz musician Phineas Newborn Sr., Ruffin traveled to Hot Springs, Arkansas when he was 15 years old. They played at the 50 Grand Ballroom and Casino. Ruffin, known as Little David Bush, continued to sing at talent competitions, worked with horses at a jockey club, and eventually joined the Dixie Nightingales. He also temporarily performed with the Soul Stirrers following the departure of Johnny Taylor. Following the departure of some of his idols in the world of singing like Sam Cooke and Jackie Wilson from the realm of gospel music and into the realm of secular music, Ruffin too made the transition. Eddie Bush and his wife Dorothy Helen transported the then 16-year-old Ruffin to Detroit, Michigan, where his brother Jimmy was pursuing a music career while also working for Ford Motor Company. After moving to Detroit with the Bushes, Ruffin recorded his first released records in 1958 with the songs You and I.
Oh, so beautiful. You will share your love.
And Believe Me. These songs were recorded at Vega Records and released under the name Little David Bush, using the last name of his guardian. Ruffin later recalled how he initially recorded a different kind of music, strongly influenced by the smoother pop and R&B of the time when he first recorded in Detroit for Vega. In 1957, Ruffin met Berry Gordy Jr., then a songwriter with ambitions of running his own label. Ruffin lived with Gordy's father, a contractor, and helped Pops Gordy do construction work on the building that would become Hitsville, USA, literally having a helping hand building Motown on the business side and physically.
I met Barry in '57, and I came from Hot Spring, Arkansas. I just finished a group called the Dixie Nightingales out of Memphis, Tennessee, singing spiritual. And we was on, at that time, I was touring with the Womack brothers, Bobby Womack, and Mavis Staple, the Dixie Hummingbirds, Swan Silvertones. And I used to work for Pop Gordy, Barry's father. And physically labor, I have built Motown with my hands, you know. His father was a contractor, and I lived with him and his mother.
Ruffin's brother Jimmy eventually signed to Tama's Miracle Records label as an artist. It was also at this time that Ruffin worked as an apprentice at Anna Records, a chess distributed company that was run by Gordy's sister Gwen Gordy Fuqua and his songwriting partner Billy Davis. At this time, Ruffin worked with another ambitious vocalist named Marvin Gaye. Gwen Gordy Fuqua was asked about Ruffin in the Detroit Free Press in 1988. She stated he was very much a gentleman, but the thing that really impressed me about David was that he was one of the only artists I've seen who rehearsed like he was on stage. According to Ruffin, he and Gaye would pack records for Anna Records. Ruffin made music as a vocalist and drummer in the Voice Masters, a doo-wop type duo, and later began recording at Anna Records, where he recorded the songs I'm in Love.
Oh, come on and take my soul. I know.
And One of These Days.
Well, then one of these days, I'm gonna...
With the Voice Masters, a group that included future Motown producer Lamont Dozier, other group members included members of The Originals, Ty Hunter, C.P. Spencer, Hank Dixon, and Voice Masters and The Originals founder Walter Gaines. At one time, the Voice Masters also included another Future Temptations member, Melvin Franklin, one of numerous people David would claim as a cousin.
Me and Marvin used to pack records for Anna Records. My first record was on Vega Records with Tommy Smalls, used to be a disc jockey in New York, and Willie Stork, and on the Stork Club in New York. And I was 16 then. That's when I used to have to walk Melvin Franklin home. And Barry started Motown, and Billy Davis and Anna Gordy was Anna Records. And Billy took us to Chess Records, me and Lamont Dozier and Ty Hunter. Marv Johnson, he went with Barry and Smokey. And that's how it particularly started.
Ruffin did sign to Anna Records as a solo artist, but his work in that time was unsuccessful. Ruffin eventually met an up-and-coming local group by the name of The Temptations. His older brother Jimmy went on a Motown tour with The Temptations, and he told David that they needed someone to sing tenor in their group. Ruffin shared his interest in joining the group with Otis Williams, who also lived in Detroit. Ruffin joined The Temptations in January 1964, following the dismissal of original member Elbridge Al Bryant. Ruffin's first recording session with the group was on January 9th, 1964. Ruffin and his brother both auditioned for the group, but David was chosen not only for his amazing voice but also for his dance abilities after performing with them on stage at the label's New Year's Eve party in 1963. After joining The Temptations, the bespectacled Ruffin provided background vocals as Eddie Kendricks and Paul Williams rotated as lead singers. Ruffin did sing a few lead parts, both on stage and in the studio during his first year with the group, but his leads on these studio tracks were not released for over a year since they were deemed insufficient to showcase his vocal abilities. Smokey Robinson, who produced and co-wrote the majority of The Temptations material at the time, described Ruffin as a sleeping giant in the group with a distinct voice that was both mellow and gruff. As Robinson believed that if he could write the ideal for Ruffin's voice, he would have a huge hit. The song had to be something Ruffin could belt out while also being melodic and sweet. When Robinson reached his aim, he recorded the song My Girl in November 1964 and released it the following month. This song was the group's first #1 hit in 1965. My Girl subsequently became The Temptations' signature song and elevated Ruffin to the role of lead singer frontman. The follow-ups to My Girl were also extremely successful singles and included the Ruffin-led hits It's Growing,
That the man claims broke his reel. It's growing.
Since I Lost My Baby,
But fun is a bore, and with money I'm poor.
My Baby,
I hope she digs me the way I am. But if I have to change,
Ain't Too Proud to Beg,
I know you wanna leave me, but I refuse to let you go.
Beauty Is Only Skin Deep,
You came into my life and gave it meaning and built life.
I Know I'm Losing You,
So I fool myself long as I can.
All I Need. Loneliness made me realize it's you that I need.
If farewell kiss is haunting me, my total lips cry.
I Wish It Would Rain,
I stay locked up in my room. I know to you, it might
and I Can Never Love Another After Loving You.
even tell me why. Before you
Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks also performed lead vocals on the 1967 hit single, You're My Everything.
and trouble would near, don't you know, baby? You're my everything.
Ruffin, who stood 6'3", won over The Temptations audiences and admirers with his impassioned and dramatic performances. According to Otis Williams, Ruffin jokingly called Ruff by the group was a natural comedian and a hard-working singer when he initially joined the group. Ruffin's most noteworthy non-vocal contribution to The Temptations was the creation of their iconic four-headed microphone stand. This allowed the other members to sing and dance without crowding around a single microphone while the main vocalist sang into a separate one. However, by 1967, difficulties with Ruffin became an issue for the group. He became addicted to cocaine and began missing rehearsals and performances. Refusing to travel with the other Temptations, Ruffin and his then girlfriend, Tammy Terrell, traveled in a custom limo with the image of his trademark black rimmed glasses painted on the door. After the Supremes were renamed Diana Ross and the Supremes in early 1967, Ruffin felt that he should become the Temptations' center point, just as Diana Ross was for her group, and began requesting that the group name be changed to David Ruffin and the Temptations. This resulted in several disagreements between Ruffin and the group's de facto head, Otis Williams. In addition to the group's issues with Ruffin's ego, he began looking into the Temptations' financial records, demanding an accounting of the group's funds. This action caused friction between Ruffin and Gordy. The Temptations agreed in June 1968 that Ruffin had finally crossed the line when he missed a June 22nd concert with them in Cleveland, Ohio, to watch a performance by his new girlfriend, Barbara Gail Martin Dean Martin's daughter. Ruffin was fired on June 27th and replaced by Dennis Edwards, a former member of the Contours who had previously known Ruffin and the group as a whole. Though Ruffin personally pushed Edwards to take his position, he began showing up unannounced at Temptations concerts during Edwards' first few gigs with the group. When the group started to perform a Ruffin-era song such as My Girl or Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Ruffin would suddenly walk onto the stage, take the microphone from Edwards' hands, and steal the show, embarrassing the group but entertaining the fans. According to Edwards, the adulation in Ruffin's pleas persuaded the other four Temptations to give Ruffin another chance, but when he arrived late to what was supposed to be his return show with the group in Gaithersburg, Maryland, the Temptations decided to keep Edwards and abandoned plans to rehire Ruffin. However, according to Otis Williams, he has always maintained that Ruffin's firing was permanent and that he was never considered for rehiring. Ruffin sued Motown Records in October 1968, seeking his release from the label as well as an accounting of his money. Motown countersued to prevent the singer from leaving the label, and the issue was eventually resolved. The settlement compelled Ruffin to remain with Motown until the end of his initial contract. Ruffin originally joined Motown as a solo artist and had a separate contract from the rest of the Temptations, which some blame for much of the group's infighting.
Okay, my question is to Otis. Why was David Ruffin fired from the Temptations?
Well, you see, when we first started out, we made a vow that we would not change, because we had heard about Frankie Lyman leaving the Teenagers and Tony Williams leaving the Platters, so we made a vow. But it's one thing to hold true to that vow once, you start to make huge amounts of money and doors open up to you that once would never. And, you're getting all kind of adulation. And success can act as a very strong aphrodisiac, And when you are a group, you have to move and think as one unit. You cannot have five guys going, five different directions. So it started to become a...
Ruffin's first solo single was a song originally intended for the Temptations' name, My Whole World Ended the Moment You Left Me. The single from the album, also titled My Whole World Ended, was released in 1969 and reached the US pop and R&B top 10 charts. This was followed by the 1969 album, Feeling Good, a third album titled David, was recorded between the years of 1970 and 71, but was shelved by Motown and did not see commercial release until 2004. In 1970, Ruffin recorded an album with his brother Jimmy, I Am My Brother's Keeper, for which they had minor hits with When My Love Hand Comes Tumbling Down, and Your Love Was Worth Waiting For. His next official Motown release was David Ruffin in 1973. While his solo career initially showed promise, Ruffin swiftly declined as a performer owing to his drug addiction, and Motown only provided him with the bare minimum of support once it became evident that he was no longer as popular without the Temptations. Ruffin's final top 10 hit was Walk Away From Love. In 1975, produced by Van McCoy, which reached number 9 on the pop charts. It was also Ruffin's only entry into the UK charts as a solo artist and was a hit there as well, making it into the top 10, peaking at number 10 in early 1976. The single sold over 1 million copies and was awarded a gold disc by the RAAA in February 1976. Other notable recordings from Ruffin's solo career include I Lost Everything I've Ever Loved, The Gospel Inflected, I'm So Glad I Fell For You, Blood Donors Need to Give All You Can, Common Man,
You said, I didn't have to swear by my blood.
No Matter Where,
That you feel my fire burning, burning, burning.
Who I Am,
I made you cry.
Statue of a Fool,
Then it's right.
Ruffin left Motown in 1977 and recorded for Warner Brothers Records, releasing the albums So Soon We Change in 1979 and Gentleman Ruffin in 1980. He then signed with RCA Records and established a duo with fellow Temptation Eddie Kendricks, who had previously left the group due to personal issues, including a weakened voice from years of chain smoking. Ruffin and Eddie Kendricks rejoined the Temptations in 1982 to record their album, Reunion, and tour in support of the album, which featured the R&B smash, Standing on the Top, which was recorded with funk star Rick James.
A superstar, but do you have any money to live?
The Reunion tour, however, was short-lived since Ruffin routinely failed to show up for gigs while using drugs, resulting in the group being fined thousands of dollars. By Christmas 1982, Otis Williams had fired Ruffin for the second and final time in the group. Ruffin began touring with Kendrick as a duo act in 1985, but was also fired due to his terrible vocal abilities. That year, Hall and Oates, long-standing Temptations fans, collaborated with Ruffin and Kendrick to play at the Apollo Theater's reopening in New York. Their performance resulted in a popular live album and single. The four vocalists also performed a medley of Temptations tunes at Live Aid on July 13, 1985. His Ruffin's tune garnered him his first and only Grammy nomination. John Oates later composed a modest success tune for Ruffin and Kendrick, but the two fell out, apparently over Daryl Hall's concerns about Ruffin's excessive drug usage. After being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with the Temptations in 1989, Ruffin, Kendrick, and Dennis Edwards started performing and recording as Ruffin, Kendrick, Edwards, former leads of the Temptations. In 1991, they had a successful month-long tour in England, earning approximately $300,000. Ruffin's final recording in his lifetime was Hurt the One You Love, which was released as a solo album on Motor City Records. Ruffin got married twice. His first marriage was to Sandra Barnes in 1961, and they had three daughters, Cheryl, Nedra, and Kimberly. He had a son with his longtime partner, Jenna Sapia, whom he met in 1964. She named her baby David E. Sapia, but Ruffin later altered it to David Eli Ruffin Jr. The three had been living together for some years. In 1976, Ruffin married Joy Hamilton. Sapia added Ruffin to her last name after his death to honor their love and maintain continuity with her son. Sapia Ruffin wrote a memoir, David Ruffin, My Temptation, in 2003, detailing Ruffin's infidelity and abusive behavior. Ruffin began dating Tammy Terrell in 1966 when she joined the Motown Review Tour, which opened for the Temptations. They had a turbulent relationship. Ruffin surprised her with a marriage proposal, but when she proclaimed their engagement on stage, she discovered he was already married. Ruffin became more violent with Terrell as his drug use intensified. Terrell broke their relationship when Ruffin slapped her in the head with his motorcycle helmet in 1967. Despite having migraines since childhood, Terrell told Ebony magazine in 1969 that she believed her emotional state during this relationship contributed to her headaches. Ruffin had apparently been residing in Philadelphia since 1989 with his girlfriend Diane Showers, whom he met when she was 14 years old. In 1967, Ruffin first sought treatment for his drug addiction. Ruffin was arrested in Memphis in 1978 while attending a birthday party.
He was charged with disorderly conduct for refusing several requests to leave the area after reportedly threatening police officers and their families while being brought to jail. Ruffin denied making the threats and was released on bail.
Ruffin was charged with $5,000 and sentenced to 6 months in a low-security prison for failing to pay more than $310,000 in taxes over a 2-year period. He served 4 months and was freed early due to excellent behavior. On May 19, 1986, he pleaded no contest to a charge of receiving and concealing stolen items valued at less than $100 and was fined $50 plus court costs. The charges of assault and battery, as well as receiving stolen property valued at more than $100, were dropped. Ruffin was arrested following a raid on a Detroit home in July 1987 and spent the night in jail. He was accused of cocaine possession with the intent to distribute. He was released on a $1,500 bail. Ruffin was found guilty of narcotics use but not possession. He was sentenced to 2 years of probation and 50 days of community service. After breaching his probation 3 times, he was sentenced to a drug rehabilitation program in 1989. He finished a 28-day drug treatment program at the Arbor-Casriel Institute in New York. Ruffin passed away of an accidental overdose on June 1st, 1991, following a successful month-long tour of England with Kendricks Edwards. He apparently fainted at a West Philadelphia drug house with a companion, according to authorities. Although his passing was ruled an accident, Ruffin's family and friends suspected foul play, claiming that a money belt containing $40,000 missing from his body. However, his girlfriend at the time, Diane Showers, was not surprised when she was informed of his passing. Ruffin's beaten body is shown being discarded in the street in front of a hospital where he passes. It was also revealed in the miniseries that his remains sat unclaimed in a morgue for 1 week. As a result, Ruffin's estate sued NBC and other important parties engaged in the series' production, claiming defamation and putting the miniseries on hold for some time. According to the plaintiffs in the complaint, Ruffin was driven to the hospital in a limousine and led to the waiting area by his driver, who alerted the staff about his name. According to Ruffin's children, one of them claimed his body within a few days. Ruffin's estate lost the action, and the decision against it was upheld on appeal. Ruffin had many admirers among his fellow artists. Nobody could sing like David Ruffin, said his close friend and colleague Martha Reeves. His contemporary label mate and longtime acquaintance Marvin Gaye was particularly impressed with the virility of Ruffin's voice. Gaye said, "Ruffin's work made me remember that when a lot of women listen to music, they want to feel the power of a real man." Daryl Hall said, "His voice had a certain glorious anguish that spoke to people on many emotional levels." Ruffin himself said, "I don't know what kind of voice I have, I really don't. It's just about the feeling I get for the song." Rod Stewart said, "I wish it would rain jumped out of the speakers and ravish my soul." Stewart would later become friends with Ruffin. His voice was so powerful like a foghorn on the Queen Mary, Stewart told Rolling Stone in 2005. And the cover art of Ruffin's last album, Gentleman Ruffin, was the inspiration for the Art of Rapper Wiz Khalifa's mixtape Kush and Orange Juice. Ruffin also has been sampled or mentioned in many songs from hip-hop artists such as MGK, Hostiles, NLE Chopper, Lil Brother, and most notably Jay-Z sampled Vincent Common Man for his song Never Change.
Never, 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 never change. I never change. What? I never change. Never, 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 never change.
Never change, this is Jay every day.
I never change.
I never change, this is Jay every day.
In 2013, David Ruffin was inducted twice into the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame at Cleveland State University. He is inducted as a solo artist and member of the Temptations. Ruffin is also inducted into the Mississippi Musicians Hall of Fame. In June 2019, the city of Detroit unveiled David Ruffin Avenue as the secondary street name where he formerly lived at. On October 26, 2019, the city of Meridian ceremonially named a section of 8th Street near the Temple Theater David Ruffin Boulevard. Ruffin was born in nearby rural Wynot, but claimed Meridian as home. Now, before we go, I have a few questions for you all. Who do you think is the Temptations' greatest lead singer? Also, what is your favorite song from David Ruffin?